Hey everyone, today we are diving into a topic that, let's be honest, most of us would rather avoid, estate planning. But I want us to reframe this. This isn't about something dark or morbid. It's actually about empowerment. It's about taking the wheel and deciding what your legacy looks like. And honestly, it's one of the most powerful and loving things you can do for yourself and for your family.
So let's just get this one out of the way. I mean, who hasn't had this thought? It sounds so easy, right? A quick Google search, you find a fill-in-the-blank form, and boom, you're done. Problem solved. But as this slide kind of jokingly points out, that little shortcut can have some seriously huge, unintended consequences down the road, the kind of mess you were trying to avoid in the first place.
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll talk about why this is about so much more than just a will. Then, we'll look at what happens if you do nothing. After that, we get to the good stuff, the solutions. We'll cover 5 essential documents, then level up to something called a trust, and we'll finish with the one simple thing you can do today to get started.
Okay, so let's zoom out. What are we even talking about when we say estate planning? Because it is so much more than just a list of who gets your stuff. Think of it as your personal rulebook for all of life's what-ifs. It's your way of making sure your voice is heard about your money, your health, and your family, even if you're not in a position to speak for yourself.
And that leads to this really critical point. What if you just don't make a plan? Does everything just stop? Nope, not at all. What actually happens is you give up your power to choose. Because the state already has a default plan ready to go for every single person. If you don't write your own rules, you get stuck with theirs.
Yeah, there's a legal word for this whole situation. It's intestate. And as soon as that happens, a whole set of default laws just automatically kick in. This is the government stepping in with a one-size-fits-all formula to decide what happens to everything you've ever worked for, and it has absolutely no idea who you are or what you would have wanted.
And this is where it gets really eye-opening. Just look at the difference here. Using Illinois law as an example, you might assume your spouse just gets everything, right? Well, the state might say, nope, your spouse gets half, and your kids get the other half. And the most important one, you want to pick who raises your kids? If you don't put it in writing, a judge who has never met you gets to make that call. It is a massive roll of the dice.
Okay, so that's the problem. Enough of the scary stuff. Let's talk about the solution because it is absolutely within your reach. Taking control starts with a core set of documents. I want you to think of these 5 things as your personal starter kit. They are the foundation for making sure your wishes are actually followed. So let's run through the toolkit. First, the last will. That's the one everyone knows. It says who gets your assets and, so important, names guardians for your kids. Then you have 2 powers of attorney. Think of them as appointing your backup decision makers, one for property to handle your finances and one for healthcare to make medical calls. The living will gives that person your instructions on tough end-of-life stuff. And finally, that HIPAA release, that's the key that unlocks the door. Without it, privacy laws can prevent doctors from even talking to the person you just put in charge. Together, these 5 things are like your personal shield.
Now, once you have that foundation built, you might want even more control. And for that, we can level up. We can go beyond the basics with a really powerful tool called a trust. So while those first 5 documents are pretty much essential for everybody, a trust is like it's like a premium upgrade to your plan.
I know the word trust sounds so complicated and official, right? But I absolutely love this simple way of thinking about it. A trust is just a bank account with rules. That is it. It's a private container that you create, you put your assets inside it, and then you get to write the entire instruction manual for how it's all managed.
So why do it? Well, the perks are huge. A trust can help your estate completely sidestep the long, public, and expensive process of probate court. It creates a seamless plan for managing your money if you get sick. It can even protect the inheritance you leave your kids from their own future creditors or a divorce. It really is the ultimate tool for control.
Wow, we have covered a lot, and I totally get it if your head is spinning a little. It can feel like a lot. But here is the really good news. Taking that first step has nothing to do with complicated legal documents. It's really just about gathering some information and turning that thought of, I should really do this, into actual concrete action. So here it is, your initial checklist. First, just make a simple list of your major assets, your house, bank accounts, that kind of thing. Second, think about your people. Who do you trust to be in your corner as your executor or to make decisions for you? And third, just think about your goals. Who are you doing all this for, and how do you want it to play out? Just mulling over these 3 things, that alone puts you way ahead of the game.
And that really brings us full circle. This process, estate planning, it isn't really about death. It's about your life. It's about everything you've built, the things you value, and the positive mark you want to leave on the world.
So the final question isn't if you'll leave a legacy. We all will. The real question is, what legacy do you want to control?